Is there anyone have read about the OPSEC, the Operation Security? Is there anyone? You. Oh, that's great. Before we get to the OPSEC, I want to read a sentence about James Clapper, who is a former DNI's chief. He said that people must communicate. You can't stop people from communicating. And they will make mistakes. Even high-profile people make mistakes in their communication, and we will exploit them. It's a sentence related about the OPSEC, and I will explain more about this in the slides. And I think they were the first who have found that what really an OPSEC mistake can affect your life. There is a Taliban commander said that we stopped using mobile phones. When we use mobile phones, we will die. And so, what's really OPSEC in a right way? OPSEC is just not about the cybersecurity. At first, OPSEC was first ever officially written and mentioned in 1996 by the US Operation Purple Dragon. This was an investigation at what went wrong during some combat operation in Vietnam. And OPSEC is not just a predefined tips and tricks and checklists. OPSEC is a process. OPSEC is a process that organizations deploy to prevent sensitive data from getting into the wrong hands. Okay? And OPSEC, as I told before, is very important. It's a process. It's not a checklist or something like that. And now, if you read this, if you are talking about a playbook, if you are talking about an incident response, or if you are talking about a red team operation, OPSEC is for all of them. If you are talking about a counter-fraud investigation or anything else, the same process of OPSEC applies to all of them. That's the beauty of OPSEC. OPSEC consists of 5 certain steps and process. It's a well-defined document. It consists 5 steps that we can see here in this picture. First one, imagine you are you are doing a red teaming operation, okay? And what's the information is critical for you if you are a red teamer? If the analyst will catch you, what's important for them? Your source IP address, your name, your real name actually, your country, your agency and something like that. It's very important for the red teamers because an analyst, if they can catch this information from you, they would know you and then they would know who you are. So the first step of OPSEC is identification of critical information. The second step is threat analysis. You have to know what's the threat of you. If you are a red teamer, you have to know poor VPN connections poor VPN connection is bad for you. Because of that, they may know your source IP address and something like that. And after that, you have to know what's the vulnerability of your operation. And after that, you have to do risk assessment. What will happen if they know your name, your IP address, and something like that? And after that, you have to do and appreciate OPSEC measures. And we have a definition called COMSEC, which is the abbreviation of communication security. It's the part of OPSEC, but is not OPSEC. OPSEC is not COMSEC, okay? For example, if you do communication, you have to encrypt your communication. It's called COMSEC. but OPSEC is not COMSEC. And the last important thing about OPSEC. Attackers are humans. They are prone to mistakes. It doesn't matter how sophisticated you are. It doesn't matter who you are. All of the APT groups that we will see in this slide have made some very, very bad mistakes. So it doesn't matter how expert you are. You are prone to OPSEC mistake. And advanced APT is opposite of advanced OPSEC. So we want to see some real OPSEC mistakes that happen in the world from the known APTs that some of us may know them. Who knows Kandiro or Karkadan? Okay. I have named this slide, don't put your names on it when you are doing global offensive operation. What does it mean? Let's see. Kandiro or Karkadan is a secretive Israel official-based company in Tel Aviv. They are official companies that are doing offensive things. And they sell spywares exclusively to the governments as public reports. And you may guess which governments or which victims. Apparently, the company has a name problem. In 2014, they named Kandiro. In 2017, the name of this company was DF Associative. In 2018, the name was Pyrnic Solution, and 2019, the name was Taveta, and 2020, the name was Sato Tech. So, if you see this picture from the right section, you can see the description of Kandiro with lots of and huge OPSEC mistake. They are very, very sophisticated group. If you have read about the documents from the Kandiro in the past, like the reports from the Citizen Lab, and the reports from the ESET company that they did for Iran in the Middle East and something like that. They are very, very sophisticated groups. They have 0 days or 1 day. They will sell them to the governments. But they had a very huge OPSEC mistake here. At the first section, you will see the file description. The file description was remote access manager. It obviously is a CNC. And after that, in the original name, you will see rasmgr.dll. The file was a DL. And you can see the remote access management too. But the bad things is here. The OPSEC mistake is here. If you see the strings, you can see Kandiro in the strings in 2014. Obviously, the analysts, the threat hunters, the threat intelligence team can know who is behind this attack, okay? And it's very huge OPSEC mistake. And after that, Lazarus. Who knows Lazarus? Oh, that's great. Lots of North Korean lovers. Lazarus or Hidden Cobra, and the title is the details in an OpenOffice XML or OXML file. And you know, from the threat intelligence perspective, you have to know all the intelligence agencies, unfortunately. So, Lazarus is, there is agency, General Staff Department of the Korean People Army. It's not very important. And here is RGB, and the last one is foreign intelligence. Lazarus is kind of foreign intelligence. They are not an APT. They are the umbrella of threat actors that are doing lots of things, information gathering, financial things, and they have good 0 days in supply chain in recent years. And before 2007, we have a format called OLE version 2 for Microsoft Office documents. But after 2007, the format was changed. It is familiar for us, DocX, XLSX, and PPTX. The file format was incorporated into Microsoft Office 2007. It's a zipped, it's a compressed, zipped XML file and developed by Microsoft in all types of Office files. The associated extension is DocX, XLSX, and PPTX. You can see the format. There is a section called Doc Props. You can see after these are all of the XMLs. Some of them is automatically created and some of them is created by you. It has a section called app.xml, core.xml. In the Word section, it has this XML called setting, styles, and content types. It's the format of the OXML file, and if you unzip this document, you can see all of these in a Word documents. But Lazarus, sorry. We have analyzed Lazarus for some project, and there is a base document of them. The document, as you know, the Office documents, they are using for initial access and something like that. For example, macro and something like that, or recent 0 days that uses Office documents. They all use for initial access, actually. And during a recent analysis, we have found out a template from the Lazarus. First, if you draw some various OPSEC notes in Office documents, I want to mention one of them. If you analyze the setting.xml that is here in the Word section, if you analyze this section, you will face a unique token, okay? There is a unique token inside setting.xml. It consists 128-bit UID. Okay, you will see this. And the Lazarus at that time, or now, I don't know, they don't know these OPSEC issues. This UID would persist across your documents, even save as. Imagine, I will create a Microsoft Word, and I will send it to you. You will make some changes, you will send it to the other, but this UID will persist. It's the same from the previous. So, if you have base one, you can find the evolution of the threat actor malware family. You can find the other word that's belonging to the Lazarus. For example, you will write a Yara rule into the virus total, and you can catch all of the documents that belongs to this threat actor. Okay? It's the same that Kaspersky, PT, or the companies like SentinelOne did in the past. So it's an OPSEC mistake. It's a base template. From that UID we can find the other templates of them. As you see, the hash are different, but the base template is the same. And the victims of this threat actor, one of them was Boeing. I don't know whether it's successful or not, but one of them was Boeing and the other companies. And even about the template, there is a template of DocX styles, single spaced blank DocX. If you want to have a chain of threat analysis activity, OPSEC activity, you can search this too. 2 weeks ago, I think, the Google Cloud has a talk. They said about the theory I name it theory, red and green theory. They said that if you analyze the file, the malware, some of the malware are malicious. For example, if you are analyzing a Word document, the macro section might be malicious and is red. If you put it on the VirusTotal and your EDR, antivirus, sandbox and something like that, the red part is the malicious part, okay? It's obvious. But we have some green parts. For example, the style is not malicious, it's green. The format, the styles and something like that is green and it's not malicious. But you can do your OPSEC analysis, threat hunting and threat intelligence things based on the green parts. Do you know what I mean? You will find the green parts, like for example, calculate the hash of an image inside the product, and with that hash you can analyze all the VirusTotal DB. You will find lots of threat actor activity with that image, okay? The main malware would be changed, but for example, the picture of the malware that inside this document, it won't change. And with that, you can find the other malware family too. And another OPSEC mistake in that Lazarus sample is that in these Word XML files, if you analyze it, the Word contains all of your system language. Like for example, if you have Persian language and English, it would be here, okay? In that Lazarus sample, it's another OPSEC mistake. US and Korea. You will find that the threat actors are belonging to Korea, north or west, I don't know. And we want to talk a little about OPSEC techniques that the threat actors have done before. Who knows Lamberts? Lamberts are very, very sophisticated group belonging to the United States of America. And here is an OPSEC technique, defensive OPSEC technique, I think. You will face some malwares that are encrypted on the disk, so you can analyze them. But even in memory, in runtime, they have to be decrypted, okay? So you can do memory forensics, you can run your own Yara rule, or you can dump the memory, whatever you want, and you can see the strings in the memory, okay? For example, you can see if you face a CNC, you can see the IP address of the CNC and you can find it. But you can see after the execution, the first function will decrypt, here, the first function, will decrypt that section, and that section would be wiped after run this sample. Imagine you are running a CNC, the strings are encrypted. When you want to run it, it would be decrypted, and after you connect to your server, it would be wiped in the memory. So with your Yara rule, with your memory forensic or whatever you want, you can see the exact strings in the memory. Okay? It's one of the favorite techniques of Lambert's. And who knows about the Nobos web shell? There is a definition called Nobos, nobody but us. It's an acronym internally by the National Security Agency, NSA, of the United States. It means that we only can use our malwares. You can search it on the Wikipedia, the Nobos. It's a general definition, has lots of things, but if we talk about the cybersecurity, they said that if we exploit some company, only us can to interact with that malware. For example, if you compromise Ministry of Foreign of Iran, for example, just you can interact with that CNC, with that web shell, okay? But you can see this in Chinese or Korean malwares. And here is the Novus web shell. Here is the public face application. And if the passphrase is correct, you can connect to that web shell. It's the OPSEC technique. And any other analyst in the world can't connect to this web shell to analyze it, okay? And here is the code. In the cookie section, there is authentication key and there is a salt. If it's okay, you can connect to that web shell. If it's not, you can't connect to that web shell. It's an OPSEC technique that they won't let the analyst connect to your web shell. Okay, it's very good. Up here. And again, there is a, imagine there is a CNC, and if somebody wants, if the attacker here wants to connect to that CNC on the victim machine, the CNC would calculate the SHA of your certificate. If the attacker certificate is the original one, then you can communicate to your CNC, okay? And if it's another beautiful OPSEC technique too. And here is the code of that malware sample. And I don't have now any internet access, but I suggest you to search about it. There is a WikiLeaks page that it's an internal chat for the Americans, and during the chat they have analyzed the OPSEC mistake that they did done before. And because of that, the Kaspersky have found some malwares from the Lamberts and the Occasion group. For example, they said that you've made a mistake because you had PDB pass in your strings. You've made a mistake because of your own unique implementation of the encryption and your implementation of mutex. It's an internal chat. It's very amazing. I suggest you, I will put this on the Telegram channel. I suggest you to read about it. And it's for internal chat that the WikiLeaks have published it. And the last OPSEC technique is a targeted attack in the Middle East. And the attacker demonstrates excellent operation security. The attacker deployed several reconnaissance scripts to check the availability of the victim machine. For example, they want to share you are not in a sandbox or in an analyst machine, okay? And they block the system with firewall to don't connect to anywhere except the attacker, okay? And the last, they have used Cloudflare to hide the nature and the location of their infrastructure. They are very good OPSEC techniques, okay? And they have analyzed the user agent of the attacker who wants to connect to the CNC. If the correct user agent is in place, they can communicate. And after that, OPSEC is some technical parts and non-technical. Here is non-technical one. Attacker was only active during the morning Central European time zone because the analysts can't find the geolocation. For example, if you're, for example, Chinese threat actor, they would work in the Central European, so you can't find them. It's very important. And even they send the malware to the victims in the Central European. It's very important. And when an infected system received the pivot, the attacker disabled his firewall for a few minutes so the victim can download the shellcode, and the attacker server becomes unreachable after that. It's very important. So, the last important things is that there are very known and sophisticated threat actors that they have their own sign, their own TTP, okay? Their own method. But in OPSEC overview, unique technique might be your nightmare because they can find you easily. Oh, is his sign is that APT group, okay? I want to mention some of them. As I mentioned Candiro, their initial access is this. If you see this during your investigation, you can a little bit sure that the Candiro has infected this company. They will send hyperlink, they have online physical attack for Windows, they have man in the middle, or a definition called shell-lock for Windows, but we don't know yet what is shell-lock now. If you know, please tell us. And after that, and after the initial compromise, they will do these kind of things. If you see this, you can pretty sure that Candiro have infected this company. If the data gathering from this victim Signal, Twitter, and Outlook, the manipulation of EPD hardware. Do you know what is EPD? Please search about. It's something like microphone camera and something like that. Interception of VoIP calls. These are the unique techniques of Candiro, and if you see this, you can pretty sure you have faced Candiro in your network. And therefore, they're persistent. They use common object hijacking, but normally you will see common object hijacking. They model as a main different. Does anyone know about the difference with their common object persistent and the other one? Other teams use common object hijacking in section of the HKCU, current user of the registry, but Candiro have used common object hijacking in HKLM, local machine, okay? And it's very sophisticated because the real common object, the legitimate one, can work, and also the malware can work too. It's very important, the model of the common object hijacking. And I have mentioned some of the CLSID that they have used before. You can have a research about this common object for the Candiro. And here is their technique to put the common object in the HKLM. And you can do some baselining and threat hunting activity to find these techniques and to hunt these techniques. It's not related about OPSEC. And last unique technique belongs to malware, belongs to Lambert. As you know, the Lambert is highly targeted computer network capability and computer network attack CNA capability. They have both of them. And their initial access is very unique. For example, if you are a nuclear engineer in Iran, my origin, the engineer needs some software, but because of the sanctions, they can't get it, okay? So, in some forums, they will ask for software. And here it is. The Lambert engineer will provide the manipulated software in this room. So, with your own hands, you will bring the Lambert in your infrastructure. And here, is the unique initial access of Lamberts, and if anybody see this, they can 100% sure they are Lamberts. And about their command execution, we have something called ETW, Windows Tracing for Windows. Event tracing for Windows provides a mechanism to trace events, to diagnostic, to analyze your computer, okay? It's called ETW. And we have saw a Lambert family that use ETW for command execution. I will explain how it works. We have a ETW for network driver. It's called NDIS. And with this NDIS, you can create a trace session for capturing packets from your network driver, network card. And Malware and Lambert did this before. If a special function match, Lambert will create a session with ETW, and during that sniffing, the capturing the traffic, they will get their own commands and they will execute it. I want to say it more. You have a ETW called it's for NDIS, it's for your network driver. You can create a session with this ETW and you can capture the traffic right on your network driver, okay? And the malware and this kind of malware from the Lamberts doesn't connect to the CNC directly. They have captured the traffic from this trace session and save it, and during that session they have execute the attacker commands. Okay? Here is the code. It's not obvious, but we'll send you. It's the trace session creation and it's the functions. Here it is. Here's the threat actor, and it's for example a public face application, and the passive listening, not direct listening. They have created threat session for ETW. Attacker will send some traffic through this machine, and all the traffic had captured here, and the attacker can execute their own command during the passive listening via ETW. Thank you.